Welcome to the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I want you to do me a big favor before you check out this clip. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to throw in a comment and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. And then I want you to share this video with your friends. Help us defeat the algorithm. And then if you like this content and you appreciate this content, please head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show and support the show. That is how we actually get funded to be able to do this. So we thank you very much for being here. And now enjoy the clip.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the track.
I ended up watching the Royal Rumble, but I was kind of like uncomfortable, and then I knew that the reason why I was watching it was so that way I could, hit up the Patreon and do a recap, because that was one of the things I wanted to do this year, is just get more content and more stuff. And so, and I have an easier way to do solo content. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the Royal Rumble and I can do a quick recap of it. Well, I did like 35 minutes just talking to my phone because I went on a whole fucking rant about how shitty Triple H is at that press conference. But
oh my God.
It was bad. It was bad.
Can we talk about what an asshole that guy was on Twitter, posting pictures of him smiling and laughing and making a joke out of all this, and then getting put up there? And kudos to the wrestling media for not being complete and total asshats, except for Steve fucking Fell, which even he admitted that he was being a douche. And for him to sit there and tuck tail in front of everybody and act like a big freaking, oh my God, what an asshole. He is, honestly, God, my least favorite human being in professional wrestling. What an embarrassment to the company. That guy,
JD, you know what he said about last week for the company? He said, "This has been an amazing week." I'm like, dude, like you're living under a fucking rock, or you got your head buried into the sand. And I want, you know what? And I think JD, we need to do something, because we've been tough on a lot of the people from the media. And there were 3 guys at that press conference that we've been real tough on this podcast, and we got to give them their kudos because they fucking deserve it. John Alba, I did a whole thing on John Alba because of the whole WWE PR thing and tweeting about SmackDown. I didn't really care that he did it, but he went on a rant against me, and so I did the same on my podcast. But you know what, John Alba, kudos you. He asked the best question of the weekend. Absolutely. Also, I want to give a kudos to Nick Hausman, who I think we've probably given the biggest beating to. He actually asked Cody Rhodes one of the questions. He actually sacrificed an opportunity to ask Triple H a question, and asked Cody Rhodes the question instead, because that was the only time he's going to get to be able to speak. So he did that, and I thought Cody Rhodes answered the question quite well, honestly. Cody Rhodes far more trained in media than Triple H, clearly. And Brandon Thurston, we actually love Brandon Thurston, so not him. There's another guy though. There's another guy named Seahawk who I don't follow that guy. He's kind of an influencer, kind of like a guy. He works for the Ringer. I think he used to work for the Torch. He also asked a pretty decent question, not as good as Alba or Hausman or Thurston, but I felt like he still did a pretty good job there. So kudos to those gentlemen. We've been really tough on some of those guys. So awesome work.
You know what though? I think being tough on those guys holds their feet to the fire and forces them into these positions to make them do the right thing. Because when given the opportunity in the past, they always haven't. So I think that, I'm not saying you specifically, but I think that the internet wrestling community, which takes a lot of flack from people like them specifically, held their feet to the fire for how they've acted in the past, and I think helped influence them to pushing the journalistic button. And they could say, well, I would have done that anyway, but you haven't proven to me that you have when given those opportunities before, but you did here in the most important story in the history of the business. So tip my cap to them on this one.
Yeah. And so part of my Royal Rumble rant, and I said just that, JD, I said, it is important to be tough on the media. because they have an important job in this, and
Mhm.
they need to ask important questions when these types of stories break. It's just as important to hold the media to the fire as it is to hold people in power accountable for
More
what they're
important.
doing, and that's the media's job. And so
Mhm.
they get the access that a lot of us don't get, that a lot of us will never get because of where we're at in our lives. JD, you got 3 jobs. You don't have time to be going around and doing all this stuff. You're not going to go work for a major website. Me, I'm
No.
in the military. I will have to ask for leave, and you guys will have to fly me to Hawaii, and it costs a lot of money to get me on a plane to go anywhere. So you got to put me up in like a 5-star hotel. You got to pay me tons of money to get me to go over there and do that stuff. So, and nobody's willing to do that. So, and I'm just not in the position to be able to do it, because look, I got a real ass job and a family, and I'm going to school. So we have these people that have been granted this access, and it's important for them to be taken seriously. There was another woman on there that she had the first opportunity to ask Triple H a question, and the first thing she fucking asked was about the Netflix deal. And I'm not going to mention her name because I've already mentioned it on Twitter. She's a disgrace, right? That was just a person that's looking for a job in WWE, despite the big story that just came out. That is a person that's wanting to go into the Lions Den over there, and I just don't understand it. Just completely disgraceful by her. But then you got 3 back-to-back questions that were absolutely legitimate. So when they suck, we should say it, and when they do good, we also should say it. I think that's appropriate, especially for 2 guys like JD and I who can be a bit harsh on folks. So good job to them. Says wrestling media has been operating unchecked for a long time. Well, look, it's because nobody's really ever taken this business seriously, and mainstream media never really wanted to cover it because they feel like that it's embarrassing. So really, we've only ever had Dave Meltzer and Wade Keller that actually do in-depth investigative reporting, right? We have other guys. We have Sean Ross Sapp, who's kind of like our Adam Schefter. And I think, and look, we can say whatever we want about him and some of his Twitter behavior, but he is like our Adam Schefter and Wojnarowski, where he's probably the guy that breaks the most stories. They're not very in-depth most of the time, but they're just like quick couple of sentence scoops. A lot of it revolving around free agency and things like that, backstage stories. But we have Dave and Wade, and that's really been it for a long time. And so hopefully now some of these websites, now that they see that instead of being WWE PR, which is what we're seeing from Sports Illustrated, which is what we've been seeing from ESPN, this fucking idiot Mike Coppinger did it again. Completely avoiding the Vince story, just did a whole PR article written by AI, put his name on it, talking about the greatness of the Royal Rumble. So we can't get mainstream media to cover this stuff. So we need people like John Alba to step up and be better. We need people like Houseman to be better and to not pull the shit that he pulled on Chris Jericho, to actually do in-depth, like corroborated, checked source stories. We need these people to do that. They're the people. They're our voice for that stuff. We need them. We need them to be better.
There's an idiom that I like in this situation. It's who watches the watchman, right? We need people. We need the people. That's really about really holding the media to scrutiny, because they're very easy to let the media come out and become just a propaganda arm, right? We see it in Banana Republics all the time. So it's up to the people to hold the people who are supposed to hold the big people accountable. That we keep them accountable too. So never forget that phrase. Who watches the watchman?
Yeah, checks and balances. And like hold JD and I accountable too. If we say something out of line, tell us. If we say something that's wrong, look, trust me, I say shit that's wrong, and I get DMs all the time. Like, hey, you got this fact wrong. Hey, this was actually this match happened on this pay-per-view and not this. Like, and I accept that stuff because look, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants here a lot of times. I have some notes, but it's difficult, right? Like, and so it's important to be corrected, and it's important to be accountable.